One evening, after a long day of training, CHIDIMMA sat with Nkem by the river that ran through the village. The water flowed gently, reflecting the soft light of the setting sun. It was a moment of peace in a world that seemed to be spiraling into chaos. "Do you think we'll have to fight?" CHIDIMMA asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. Nkem was silent for a moment, his gaze focused on the water. "I don't know, CHIDIMMA. I hope not. But we have to be prepared for that possibility. The rebels won't show mercy, and we can't afford to be caught off guard." CHIDIMMA shivered at his words, even though the evening air was warm. The thought of having to face the rebels in battle terrified her, but she knew that Nkem was right. They couldn't afford to let fear paralyze them. "I just want this to be over," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I want things to go back to the way they were." Nkem reached out and took her hand, his grip firm and reassuring. "I know, CHIDIMMA. We all do. But we have to face reality. We have to be strong, for ourselves and for each other." CHIDIMMA nodded, taking comfort in his words. She knew that no matter what happened, she wouldn't be alone. They would face whatever came together, and they would do everything in their power to protect their home. As the days passed, the tension in the village continued to build. The rumors of the rebels' movements grew more frequent, and there were reports of skirmishes in nearby villages. Each night, CHIDIMMA lay awake in bed, listening to the sounds of the night and wondering if it would be the last peaceful night they would have. One evening, just as the sun was beginning to set, a messenger arrived at the village gates. He was out of breath and covered in dust, his clothes torn and stained with sweat. The villagers gathered around him, their faces filled with anxiety. "The rebels," the messenger gasped, struggling to catch his breath. "They are on the move. They've attacked 3 villages to the north. They are coming this way." The news sent a shockwave through the village. People began to shout and panic, their fear threatening to spiral out of control. But Izudo quickly stepped forward, his voice calm but commanding. "Everyone, listen to me," he called out, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We knew this day might come, and we've prepared for it. We will not let fear control us. We will stand together and defend our home." The villagers slowly began to calm down, their panic replaced by a steely resolve. They had prepared for this, and now it was time to put those preparations to the test. Izudo turned to CHIDIMMA, his expression serious. "CHIDIMMA, gather the younger villagers and take them to the safe house we prepared. Nkem, you and I will organize the defense." CHIDIMMA nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She quickly gathered the younger villagers, leading them to the safe house, a small, fortified building on the edge of the village that had been stocked with supplies in case of an attack. As they entered the safe house, CHIDIMMA tried to keep her voice calm and reassuring. "We'll be safe here," she told the others, even though her own heart was racing. "We just need to stay together and stay strong." The younger villagers nodded, their faces filled with a mixture of fear and resolve. They trusted CHIDIMMA, and they knew that she would do everything in her power to protect them. As night fell, the village was plunged into an eerie silence. The only sounds were the occasional rustle of leaves and the distant call of an owl. CHIDIMMA sat near the entrance of the safe house, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. Hours passed, and the tension grew unbearable. Every rustle of the wind, every creak of the wooden beams seemed to signal the approach of the rebels. CHIDIMMA's heart pounded in her chest as she strained to hear anything out of the ordinary. Then, just as the first light of dawn began to break, CHIDIMMA heard it, a distant rumble, like the sound of thunder rolling across the land. But this was no storm. It was the sound of hundreds of feet marching in unison, drawing closer with each passing moment. The rebels were coming. CHIDIMMA's breath caught in her throat as she turned to the others. "They are here," she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. "We have to stay quiet and stay hidden," The younger villagers huddled together, their faces pale with fear. CHIDIMMA could see the terror in their eyes, but she knew that she had to remain strong for them. As the rumble grew louder, CHIDIMMA could feel her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that the moment of truth had arrived. The rebels were at their doorstep, and the fate of the village, and possibly the entire kingdom, hung in the balance. As the dawn light crept across the horizon, the rumble of approaching footsteps became unmistakable. The rebels were near, their presence a looming shadow over Umidike. CHIDIMMA could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating. Every breath she took felt labored, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The younger villagers huddled in the safe house were trembling, their eyes wide with fear. CHIDIMMA knew that she had to keep them calm, but the weight of the responsibility pressed down on her like a heavy stone. She forced herself to take a deep breath, steadying her voice as she spoke. "Remember what we talked about," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the growing noise outside. "Stay quiet, stay hidden, and we'll get through this together." The others nodded, though their fear was palpable. CHIDIMMA could see it in their eyes, the uncertainty, the terror of the unknown. But she also saw something else, a flicker of determination, a spark of courage that had not yet been extinguished. Outside, the village was eerily silent. The usual sounds of morning, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, were absent, replaced by the oppressive quiet that came before a storm. CHIDIMMA knew that the villagers were waiting, holding their breath as they prepared to defend their home. Suddenly, the stillness was shattered by a loud, echoing voice. "People of Umidike," the voice called out, strong and commanding. "We are the Liberation Front, here to bring justice and freedom to this kingdom. Surrender your village, and no harm will come to you. Resist, and you will face the consequences." CHIDIMMA's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the voice. It was Okachukwu, one of the rebel leaders, a man known for his ruthless tactics and unyielding resolve. She had heard stories about him, tales of villages burned to the ground, of families torn apart by his men. The thought of him being so close, threatening her home, filled her with dread. But before she could let fear take hold, another voice rang out, this one familiar and filled with determination. "We will never surrender." Udo's voice boomed across the village, filled with defiance. "This is our home, and we will defend it with our lives. If you seek to harm us, you will find only resistance." CHIDIMMA felt a surge of pride at her father's words, his unwavering courage in the face of danger. She knew that he would not back down, that he would fight to protect their village no matter the cost. There was a tense pause, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Then, with a sudden burst of noise, the battle began. The rebels charged into the village, their war cries echoing through the air. The villagers, prepared and resolute, met them head-on. The clash of metal, the shout of men and women fighting for their lives, filled the once peaceful village with the sounds of war. CHIDIMMA pressed herself against the wall of the safe house, her heart racing as she listened to the chaos outside. She could hear the screams of the wounded, the cries of the dying, and the relentless roar of the battle as it raged on. She knew that she couldn't just hide. Her father, Nkem, and so many others were out there, risking their lives to protect what they loved. The thought of them fighting while she stayed safe filled her with guilt. Without thinking, CHIDIMMA grabbed a small dagger that she had tucked into her belt. It wasn't much, but it was something. She turned to the others, who were watching her with wide eyes. "I have to help them," she said, her voice trembling but determined. "I can't just sit here while they fight." One of the younger girls, Ada, grabbed CHIDIMMA's hand, her eyes pleading. "Please, CHIDIMMA, don't leave us.